Journeying with Jesus be like, my baby said, why you be doing videos at night? I said, I don't have to do videos at night. I could do them during the day, but I choose to do them at night so y'all don't get in the way. Yeah, she funny, laugh out loud. But God has been highlighting the number 22 to me, and then He directed me to look it up in the Strong's Concordance. So I'm just gonna start with Hebrews right now, which led me to read 1 Samuel, or chapter 9, and I read 10 too. It's really good, so I encourage y'all to read it, because I'm just going to paraphrase right now because it was a lot of reading. And the Hebrew number 22 is Abriel, which is, it means God is my father, or my father is God. In the Bible, the name refers to two different men, the grandfather of King Saul and one of David's mighty men. And that's where I read 1 Samuel. It talks about King Saul. But in 1 Samuel, it talks about King Saul following his servant. His dad sent him to go find a lost sheep. He was a servant. It talks about him having a good heart. He was a young man that had a good heart. This was around the time that the Israelites were asking God for a physical king, a human being. They didn't want God as king. They wanted somebody like them that they could see or whatever. So he chose Saul. But Saul just was in the midst of serving and obeying his father, doing what his father told him to do, and the sheep was lost. Then he sent them to find the sheep. They went looking for the sheep for a decent amount of time, couldn't find the sheep. They began to go back the other way, but the servant told Saul, let's go speak to a man of God we know that will help us find the sheep. So when they went to speak to Samuel, ordained, so dope, my God. They went to speak to Samuel. Samuel told Saul that he has a word for him from God. Then he told him that God chose him to be king, and he like, who, me? Like, not me, not my family. So remind you, they came from a big tribe. There was 12 tribes. The 12 tribes of Israel. He came from Benjamin, the Benjamites, but they had like little families on the inside. He was like the small. Him and his family was considered like the smallest. They irrelevant. You know how it is in families. How you got some who think they better above all, and they just like look at certain family members in their family as being small. But guess what? It doesn't matter how people look at you. All that matters is God. So he went with the prophet, and he stayed with the prophet. Then the prophet took him on a journey the next day to bring him through the process of positioning him to be king. So dope. So in the process of me reading that, this is what I received from reading it. It says, this was ordained from the beginning of time. You're attached to the bloodline you're in is for a reason. Your obedience matters. Giving your all because it's a right thing to do matters. Giving honor when it's due matters. Being in alignment with God matters. It doesn't matter if you and your immediate family seem small and irrelevant to the whole family. When in alignment with God, He will blow your mind, even when you're not even looking. Like he wasn't even looking. He was surprised, looking to be acknowledged, and just striving to be right, and just striving to be in right standing with God. He has an ultimate plan for your life. So, when he was just going about his daily life, living to do the right thing, he had a good heart. He came from a background of good people, believers, men of God, mighty men of valor. So, and furthermore, we consider our children, we would hope that, it would pass on They carried a torch on, and he was chosen to do that. And when he started off as king, he had a good heart, but he ended up falling. But in the process, when he was chosen, God calls and chooses. He anoints and he provides. He gives provision for the journey. Um, and in the process, we must choose to obey and worship by sacrificing. When it got to 10, it talked about him worshiping. It talked about them sacrificing, giving a burnt offering. The burnt offering is to extend, it's the extension. It's spiritually going up. When I looked it up, it even talks about a holocaust. It's the killing of the flesh spiritually and our desires on the daily. And then it was a peace offering where you voluntarily give thanks. We magnify God for who he is and what he has already done. And when sacrificing, God will create a new heart. When the Spirit comes upon you, when you worship, when you willingly surrender to God, he creates a new heart within you. He transforms you and turns you into a different person. And then he sets you out. And in the process, people will begin to question you. It talks about that in chapter 10, when Saul was out prophesying. He was walking in the will of God. They looked at him like, isn't that Saul? Isn't that such and such son? Like, since when he was and who are he to be, a prophet? People will always have something to say. But what we have to remember in this walk, it does not matter what people say. All that matters is God. We have to remember that our identity is in God, and God is the only one that can tell us who we are. We don't even know who we are until we surrender to God. So during worship as well, God spoke the word sonship to me. And with a little further digging, 22 means sonship and sons of light. So God calls, he chooses, he ordains. So if he called you and chose you to be part of his kingdom, accept it. It doesn't matter what nobody else have to say. All that matters is what God says, and you must believe it, receive it, and proceed in it. It takes faith. Believing first and foremost is the most important thing. And then we must surrender our life to God and allow this process to happen. When you begin to sacrifice, that burning offering, that's the killing of the flesh, meaning killing your desires, your wants, how you feel, what you believe about yourself, what you believe about, or what you believe what somebody has said about you. It really doesn't matter. You are now a son of God. You're part of the sonship, and that's all that matters. And let me look up sonship, because I didn't write it down, but I did look it up last time. Sonship. Biblically, sonship. So in Christianity, faith, sonship is the adoption of believers into God's family through faith in Jesus Christ, granting them the unique, ultimate relationship with God as their Father, a new identity in Him, and the inheritance and privileges of God's children. It involves a process of spiritual growth, a shift from fear-based servitude to freedom under grace, and the active claiming of these rights and responsibilities as they mature in their faith life. Accept the sonship that God has spoken over you. It doesn't matter what people say. And until next time, Jesus loves you, and so do I. Have a blessed night.